just a good old boy.
Hey y'all, today we're going to be taking a look at our 4160V RB Massey Ferguson Extra Cut. This is the 4x5 baler that Massey Ferguson has for silage. You can also run it in dry hay and a range of different crops of hay or straw or even silage, whatever you want to use it for. It is a 17 knife cutting baler, and it is basically an extreme density round roller, what I would call an extreme density. It will make a bale up to 2,000 pounds and 64 inches. This baler weighs in at, I think it was 8,700 pounds is what the baler weighs in at, right around 9,000 pounds. You can get this baler with, this is new, I haven't got I do know they have this. You can get it with a dry hay kit. You can also get it with twine now. I have seen the accessory stuff on their parts website for that, and I believe you can also get this baler this upcoming year. Don't quote me on this, but with a 24 knife crop cutter in it instead of the 17, or you can get the 17. I think they're going to offer both. This baler here has the larger flotation tires. These are actually the tires that they run on the big square balers. Right there, same wheels, tires, everything that they run on their large square balers. I think it's on, those are the ones off of the twin axle. I think it's the 2300 extreme density baler that those are on. It's either that or the 22 twin axle large square baler. But this thing is massive. It is a giant 4x5. This is the biggest 4x5 round baler I've ever been around. As far as the mass of it, it's just a commanding presence when you walk up to these. That's one thing I noticed right off the bat when I first saw one of these, was just how large they are. It's equivalent to the size of what a 4x6 baler, in my opinion, would have been in the past, but it's a 4x5. The 4x6, it has a little bit bigger tailgate on it. That's really the only difference between the two. But we're going to start at the front. I'm going to do a full review of this baler and go over some things that I like, some things I don't like, some things I'd like to see them change. But I'm going to start in the cab with the monitor. We're going to start there. I'm going to show you how many bales is on this thing and whatnot. Excuse the cab, it is dirty. I have been baling a lot of hay with this thing and doing other stuff. Let's see, I've got to, I want to say it's in Diagnostics system information. It has 1,201 bales on it today, and 64 hours is what we have on this one. We do have a 2 baler farm. The other one, we've put nearly the same amount on it since we've got this one. Usually we don't do that, but the way this year's been and as far behind as we are, we've been running the other one as much as we have this one. Let's see. You can go through, the monitor is all touchscreen, or you can use the buttons. This is an isobus baler. It has a range of things you can look at, from the size, form of the bale, your forming sensors that'll tell you if the bale's tilting one way or the other, if it needs a little more on one side. You have your icon for your net. It has auto or manual mode. When the A's there, it's an auto. And then you have your knife selections and your drop floor for your floor. All of that is controlled. Everything on this baler is controlled from right here. I don't have to get out of the cab to do anything. I can do everything from right here at my fingertips. It is only a 2-spool valve baler. There's one line for the tailgate, and then there's 2 lines for the pickup head, and then off of that pickup head line, 2 lines, you can toggle between your knife selection to raise and lower your knives, your drop floor to raise and lower your drop floor, and your pickup head to raise and lower it. And the way it does that is it takes, there's solenoids back there, just like you'd have, a lot of tractors have them now on the spool valves that are basically push the hydraulics for you. And it changes the valve back there on the baler to where you only have to have 2 spool valves to run this baler. Otherwise, like a lot of the other brands I looked at when I was looking, you have to have 1, 2, 3, 5 remotes just to do those 5 different options if you wanted to do them, whereas this one I only have to have 2. It actually only has 3 lines, 3 hydraulic lines, 2 for one port and 1 for the other, which it runs in float. The tailgate does, which is a nice feature. The way the chamber works and the way it sits in there, it uses float to form the bales, but it's very nice because you can sit here, you can open your tailgate like that, and then when you get done and the tailgate's up, you just shove it forward and float. You don't have to sit here and hold it, and then wait for it to close and then beep and then let off. You can literally do that and you're done with it. There's no more sitting there and having to, that's one less thing that you have to sit there and worry about and have to pay attention to, is to make sure your tailgate closes, because if it does it all on its own. So that's all your options on this side. Here's your knife selection button for your up and downs, what all these do. Now if you want to change your knives, you go, let's see, go into this check bar graph right here, and it say knife selection. You have the option of 8, 9, and 17. I don't know what the pattern will be when they come out with the, I believe they're coming out with the 24 knife slice pattern. But the 17 is like 2.5 inches, and I think the 8 and the 9 are around 5 something. It's kind of around in there on those. But like I said, they are coming out with a 24 knife baler, from what my understanding is. Then you can go back to home screen. This is where you would normally bale at, but you can go into here and you can pull up your bale size. This baler will go up to 63. It is rated, it can do 64, but that's max, so when it gets to 64, it's past that, it's over full. So all it'll let you go to is 63, which is nice, because some balers that I've had and been around before will not go past 60 inches, or they'll be just shy of 60 inches because they're in the metric system. You can adjust your net wraps from right here. You can dial it into 2.1, 2.2, 2.34, I mean, just all the way up to fine tune it 1.5. I've got mine set on 2. Bale density on these is a tier system on these balers. I think the highest is 10. Yeah, so 10 is the highest density setting for this baler. You can run it, I typically run 6. That seems to be a very heavy bale at that. I don't need to go all the way up to 10, but it has a tier system. Personally, I would rather have a pressurized system than the tier system. I've had both. With the pressure system, from the core PSIs to, I like to have both. I like to have a core pressure setting and an outer pressure setting. So if I want to run a tighter core than the outside, I can do that. Or if I want to run a looser core than the outside, I can do that. And then that also really helps you on a standpoint of power swing. You can really fine tune the baler to work, get the best shape density bale at the right density you want it at, no matter what you're trying to do and what crop you're in, with a pressure system versus the tier. So that's one thing I'm not real crazy about, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. This baler does have a soft core system. Well, another thing with the pressure system is you can really dial it in to help save fuel too. Is another thing. You could pull your core really tight and do the outer a little bit looser, and then it'll keep the bales from squatting, and then it can really start to help you with you can adjust it benefiting the fuel usage area too. And then you can get your weights more closer to what you want and have a decently shaped looking bale too with that. This is a soft core or on or off. It has that option. You can run soft core off or on. You don't have any pressure settings for that. It's just whatever the preloaded settings are in the baler. For the center core, it has a crop type. You can do straw, hay, or silage. As you can see, I've got it on hay. It has 3 different crop types. This is something I really like right here. You can go through each of these, and it has, I think, yeah, it's 20 different storable fields in here, so you can tell how many bales you've baled in that field, how many hours it took you, and I think the other one is how many bales an hour you did, and save 20 different fields in this baler before you have to delete them and redo them. So that's really nice to have that in here. That is not touchscreen, but it is on the sides. You can move it up and down, and you hit the edit button, and you can edit the field name and everything in there that you want to set it at. You could put whatever information you want down to know, back 40, whatever it is you've got field to put down that to get your logbook or whatever you want in there. We already went over the knife selection, which is this button. This button here is the other advanced menu. You have the advanced baler setup. You can get your model information and your tuning. You can do tuning in here, and you can get set your near full alert. You can set it to do 5 inches before, which is what I have it mine at, or wherever you want it. You can do soft core stops at bale size 28%, wherever you want the soft core to be at. You can adjust the core size into that area. So that is one way you can make it a little bit easier if you are kind of lacking on powers, to turn soft core on and then adjust the size of the core to wherever you want it at. And because the core is generally the hardest part to get started on most typical balers. It has a net delay. You can set your delay from negative to, I think I might, well no, you can't go negative, you can go to 0, or positive, so it'll wait before it starts the net, and then it has net clutch time, that the clutch is actually running the twine into the baler. Net roller delay settings that you can change. It has restore default model general. You can change net. I think this one only has net. Yeah, it's only got net on it. So bale ramp on or off will tell you if your indicator of your bale ramp's still down when you go to close the hatch. So if the bale's in the way, it will tell you. But on these balers, I've never had on one of these modern silage newer style balers issues with a kicker, or I mean the bale ramp not clearing the bale. They throw the bales pretty hard out of the chamber and uphill. You can be sitting dead up, throwing dead uphill, and it'll still clear the bale ramp. There's no need for kickers anymore. Bale kickers, I hate those things. They slow the cycle time down. They're useless on these newer balers. You do not need a hydraulic bale kicker or any of that on these balers, period. I don't care if you're in flatland, hill ground, whatever it is, you do not need a kicker on one of these newer European style silage balers. There's no need in them. But that's the monitor. One thing I did not go over, is it in here? No, there is I gotta find it. Calibration. Oh, you can do calibrations on your bale diameter and bale shape to set that. It has a diagnostics feature here. You can look at different information on the baler, sensors may be bad or something not working. It will give you a code, tell you what's wrong, and then tell you what you probably need to do to fix it, which is pretty cool. You can do inches, centimeters, whatever you want to do. You can put it in different languages. Info box is set up. This is what I was looking at. So you can set this up to do field names, field bales, field hours, bales an hour, total bales, total hours, density, or whatever you want in these 4 boxes. So you can customize this monitor to show whatever you want. I really love this monitor. It's a really great monitor. I love it compared to the little monitor I used to have on my old baler that I was running. It's so much nicer because you got so much information right in front of you, including how many bales has been baled in the field. Believe it or not, my old baler, you had to go to a different menu screen to see how many bales had been baled in a field. You could not just have it right in front of you on the small monitor. Now, they had a lot nicer monitor that was bigger, but I didn't get it. This one, I went with a nicer monitor. Now, they do offer a simpler monitor now for this baler as well. I think they're going to be coming out with in the spring. I've seen pictures of it as an option on the website already. That is a smaller box monitor that will do everything that this one will do, but it's a more slender, simpler, cut cost design. Now let's go out. We're going to look at the actual baler now that we got out away from the monitor. Now, that is just a monitor. The computer on these newer balers are located on the baler, but we'll go over that in a minute. Let me open the door here so we can get to everything. I want to start with the hitch back. I love this hitch. This is something that came from Vermeer. Lely used to be owned, or Lily, by Vermeer. I think it was like 15% of their company was. Lily purchased that back and then sold out to Agco. This was a Lily designed baler. Agco also builds the 504 Pro line baler for Vermeer. That's, if you know some similarities between the two, they're the same baler. Really like this. It was on our M. It's a very nice feature. You can put they have the option of putting the drive shaft over here or the stand, so I kind of like. Sometimes I like to do that. Sometimes when you're hauling the baler or toting it, you don't want to take the drive shaft off. You got to get the drive shaft out of your way when you're towing it down the road, and you just got a little stand. You can stick it on there. Here's the ports that I was talking about right here. See, it's only 3 lines. This is for the tailgate. This is for the other 3 options, from your pickup to your knife tray to your drop floor. Plug for your lights. And this baler is ISOBUS, so you don't even have to have that monitor in there. If you have a monitor or a tractor equipped with ISOBUS with a monitor in it, you can hook the baler straight to your tractor and run basically the computer from the baler through your ISOBUS screen on your tractor. So the jack's a 2-speed jack. I really like that. The older baler didn't have a 2-speed jack. I know it's simple, little simple feature, but it was a drop style. I love these new drop styles. I hated the old kind that went down here. You had to turn and pick these balers up with. These newer balers now are so much heavier than the older ones were that you need a jack like this. It's almost like a gooseneck jack, really, and they work really good and they're easy. You can pull that pin, drop it all the way down. Then it has a 2-speed setting, and it'll really drop quick, or you can push it in and then it'll go real slow when you get towards the bottom to make it easier for you to turn it. Really like that feature on this baler. Your lock for your tailgate's right here, real easy to get to. As you're walking back, you can just reach right here without having to go behind the door or anything, lock it. It's easy access. The net system. This is probably the most popular thing everybody likes to talk about on these newer style, European style balers, is how, we'll get to that in a minute, is the net system front load and how they work. I've had a Klaus. The biggest thing I had against the Klaus was the net system. It was a pain to load. It was a pain to get the net to start the way it was designed. I like the suspended design. I do not like the tray designs, because the trays cause too much density on these rolls, and it makes them hard to start. So the way you load the net in these is very easy. This is actually lower than our 504M Vermeer we had's second roll storage, and it's not much higher, really. It's about the same as the actual main roll that you had to stick in there for the storage roll. So it's easy to get it in there. It's not hard at all. you just undo this little chain. It's got a little safety chain, and you slide your roll in there, and that's where you store your extra roll. It also has a third storage place right here on the side. If you do need 3 rolls, you can put a third one there. But most of the time, you're not going to need more than 2, unless you're just wanting to be in a field for a couple days or something, and you're going to need 3. Then you have the ability to put it in the baler before you leave. So the way you load this, you put your roll up here. It's not hard to get it there. You undo this knob, you screw it all the way out. Then you climb up here in a ladder. You fold this down. I like these ladder systems to walk right up here. It's easy. I have seen some where they have little footsteps on the neck, so it's a pain in the rear end. So you get up here, you push this. This is your density bar. You push it forward and you clip this little clip right behind it, and it will allow all this to turn freely. Then you just over this and over that one, down in there. You barely tuck it in there. If you stick it in there too far, it don't like it. You just barely stick it in there. I mean, just barely stick it in there. It's easy. Then you pull that clip, release that bar, close your hood, get down. We'll go ahead and do that. Just get down. Oh, one thing I forgot, when you load this, it's just tilt. You already got your second roll here. You just tilt it in there. It falls right in there perfectly. There's a little bar system that it holds the rolling net in there perfectly, and it drops right in. Once you get that part done, close your hood, go up back down here, just screw this back in, you're done. That's it. For front load, it's very simple. It's very easy to load, and I will tell you this, it works great. There is no issues feeding this thing. It starts without any trouble. It don't matter what size roll it is, because again, it is a suspended design. I love the suspended net systems better because they have a better controlled density amount to them, and you can vary it to different size rolls of net, because the bigger the roll, the harder it's going to be to turn. And you can set different settings on your density and stuff that way. If it's in a trough, like here, like you see a lot of balers, and they've got a little bar that pulls down here on top of this thing with springs, it'll always have so much density in it because that net's got to drag across all that steel to start it. And the bigger the roll, the heavier the roll. So the more density it's going to be, and the more troubles it's going to have trying to feed into the baler. So that's another thing. One of the major selling points for me was the net system. I like front load net systems because they tear less, they tie faster, and they just all around work better. In just about every scenario, they work better. In this situation, it's easier to load than a rear load net system. I had a rear load net system. To get that roll of net up above the top of the main roll is an absolute pain in the rear end. Then you've got to try to drop it down into the other one, and if it's a suspended net system like that and you're trying to drop it down, then you've got to try to stick it on the end of the little tube balls that goes up into here, and slide it on each one of those, close it up. It's just a pain in the rear end. It's too much aggravation. I've seen them come up with cranes, all this crazy stuff to make it easier just to load the net. And all you gotta do is stick it in there, flip it in, and that's it. As simple as that. You don't have to reach up above you to grab your roll of net down. Try not to kill yourself with these big heavy rolls of net. Drop it into the tray if it's got one, and do all that crap. You just roll it in there, you're done. It's that easy. This is equipped with over the edge. You can do over the edge on these. Now, we're going to get into the roller wing guard. I'll go over the net a little bit more when I get to the other side. This one is equipped with a roller wing guard, kind of crop press kind of deal here on the front to press down your crop. Works great and with wheel rakes that aren't always going to make the perfect windrow. Really smooths out the feeding of the hay going in, helps with those lumps and balls and stuff you deal with any kind of rake sometimes, and that you're going to have. It really helps smooth out the crop flow, which helps you on pulling down the baler or the tractor and helping feed it in there more evenly, which helps save fuel too, believe it or not. Now this is adjustable. It has chains on both sides to set the height that you want this at, to the amount of crop that's flowing in, to get the right press that you want. One thing I do not like is they need to move this all the way out, because what happens is it's got a little gap right here. It does have a little bit of hay collection right in there. It's not a huge problem, but it does have some collection in here, and it kind of drags it. If this was all the way over and these flares were extended out further downward, you wouldn't have that issue anymore. It would feed perfectly no matter what, and if there was some on the outside, it would pull it in up in there, and everything would just flow perfectly. That's the one complaint I have with this pickup head. Other than that, I love it. It is a camless pickup design, so no more need for bearings and dealing with a cam track and everything else. Heavy duty steel tines. I do not like the rubber ended tines. Those rubbers separate from the steel plate that bolts onto the bars, and it's just they don't last. It's a pain in the butt. The rubber wears out. They get soft faster than the steel tines do. I love the steel tines. These are a little bit longer. Single large stub auger shafts. I like this design here. It was on the last baler I had, and I'll tell you why I like this design better than some of the other designs. Some of the balers you'll see will come off of that main rotor straight out as an included part of the rotor and have fins on it like an auger. The problem with that is when it pulls the hay inward, it's getting a pinch point right in there where that meets. There's a big pinch point there trying to feed that into a 4-foot wide chamber from there, and it's going to cause excessive wear, and it's going to overload the outer edges, whereas the augers that's mounted out forward in front will sling the hay more inward into the center of the bale and will create a more uniform shaped bale, less wear on the pickup head itself and that pinch point, and it will make life easier on you. You won't have to walk the bale any, basically, when you're forming it. Pickup height, this is a hung kind of style pickup, and the tires kind of are a guide to pick it up as you go over rough ground. They don't really carry the pickup. They're more of it's basically a suspended pickup. You set it at the height you want, and then if you get a little rough piece of ground, they'll pick it up over it. I do not like the fixed mounted wheels. I like the height adjustment holes. Here it makes everything really easy to do that. Their storage location for these wheels, you pull that clip. This one doesn't have a clip back here, which is nice. You twist it out from behind this piece here, and it slides right in there and clip it, and that's your storage location. If you want to take those off during transportation, I don't ever take them off. I like the swivel wheels myself. They do have that as an option on this baler. This one did not come with it. You can get the swivel wheels on these that will allow it to swivel. It's just easier on the pickup head and the stress of the tire and wheel itself to be able to flex a little bit and kind of swivel as it goes into a turn if you're turning at the end of the rows and everything. These are more prone to hang into the ground. If say you do have a rough ground and you're trying to turn at the same time, they'll catch the tire or something a little bit easier and be more prone to bend. Even though that is a heavy tube, heavy steel plating for your adjuster right there. But that's just my preference. I like the swivel wheels. They do have that as an option though for this baler. Might be something I'll look into eventually. So far I haven't had any real issues with those, but I do prefer the other style. Getting back here, one of the biggest things I always hear about balers that I like with the newer silage style, cluttered, can't blow them out good. These are very open, very open. You can get to everything. And if you take the net system, which is here forward out, and look from there back, it's basically empty. All there is the chains, and it's straight down. And it's just a real clean looking side on this side of the baler for everything to drop out. I am going to show y'all a clip right now of the baler with hay on it. So here's the baler full of hay after a day's worth of baling, running about 250, 300 rolls in a day. This is what it would look like in a full day's worth of baling. So you'll have some collection obviously right here where you trays are. There's a little bit there, there's a little bit up here, there's some laying right in here, and down each one of these little troughs right here, but it's all open and easy to get to. It's no problem to take just a regular leaf blower and blow it out. There's nothing to hide it behind or crevices that you can't get down into. Right here is the biggest collection area for hay on these balers. There's the hydraulic lines and stuff sit right here, and it's just a slot that goes straight down, and it gets kind of collected right there between here and that shaft there that drives the pickup off of the feed rotor, or off of the rotor. That's probably the biggest collection hay point, is right there and right in here. Both are pretty minor. You can take a leaf blower, a large one, and just blow it right out. Pretty easy. It's not that bad to blow out. This one isn't. This is by far one of the easiest balers in these silage style, newer silage style balers I've seen to blow out. Being this is a crop cutter model, you can drop the floor down in there like that, and it's fully open, and you can blow it from the sides, the pickup. You can blow your hay straight out of the pickup, right out the sides. Again, the hardest thing to clean out is just this area here. It's on a slope, so a lot of it drops out and just flows right out, but it does get hung right in there where those lines are. But it's easy to blow out. This very easy to blow out. It's not as easy as, say, an M series or a 2900 series Massey Ferguson baler, something like that would be. That's very the older traditional style that has the rear load net system, because the net system's on the front. There's less places to collect stuff just because of that. But this is it's easy to blow out, y'all. There's nothing to blowing this thing out. I'm not crazy about that. I don't know why they did this here with all these sprockets and everything. They could have just run a chain literally from here around that and back down. I have no idea why they did all that. It seems to work fine. Haven't had any issues with it. The steel that's in here is very heavy. They've supported it here all the way back across, so if it does get pulled on hard, it's not like it can flex inward or outward to move. Don't know why they did that. They did it. I've noticed a lot of the balers do that. I don't understand what the point of it is, but hey, I'm not a genius either. But really heavy chains. I love these big beefy chains that this baler has. These European solid style balers are very, very heavy chains on them. Now, you don't see those little, what I call bicycle chains on these balers, something like this. A lot of the drive chains on some of the round rollers I've seen are the size of this one's pickup chains. Literally, the main drive chain is that size right there. That drives me crazy. The M Vermeer we had was that size chain, or it is actually a little, one size bigger for one of the main drive chains. Way too light. I don't know why they didn't put bigger chains on like these have, which these are under a lot more pressure than that baler was. It was a dry hay baler. This baler here is which you can buy this from Vermeer colors too. I'm not picking on them. This is a silage baler. This baler is built to do silage. But goes back to this area here. That's a dry hay thing. Wet hay, you don't have that issue. But AGCO, I do know, is looking at all the different little things on it that are dry hay related. Like I said, they come out with a dry hay kit now for these things to put on them that has different little parts and stuff to help. Whereas this baler is built to be in silage, but it bales really good in dry hay. That's another thing. Everybody always asks me, why do you want a silage baler and spending all that money when you're just buying dry hay? Why don't you just go buy a 2900 series? Why don't you just go buy just a lighter dry hay traditional baler? Longevity, y'all. Longevity. You see how big and heavy this thing is? I bale a lot of hay. The other balers, they're nice and they work great, but when you're baling the amount of hay that I'm baling, this keeps you in the field all day, every day, and never breaks down hardly. When you buy one of the other balers, they break down. They have bearings go out because the bearings are a lot lighter. They're a lot easier. They don't have as heavy a components on them. The steel's not as thick. Things wear out and break easier on those balers because they're built for dry hay. This baler here is built for silage. I'm running it in dry hay. That means longevity for me. So that's the biggest thing. Even years ago, when we would buy the older, like a 504L Vermeer or something like that, we always bought the silage version because the bearings would be heavier, different components would be heavier in those balers, and they would last longer. If you bought the dry hay version or non-silage version, they always give trouble with something. The bearings would go out all the time, something. Bearings going out causes fires. I don't want a fire breaking out on a baler that costs, even those balers don't cost less than these. These are basically the same price as those, in some cases cheaper. So I'd rather have this versus less for more. So I mean, that's basically what I'm getting to there. But this is the latch system for the auto latcher. For the float close, it's spring loaded right here. So when this thing closes, it goes past that, and that spring catches it, pulls it down, and it latches. And that's how that works. It also has a spring for the core. I would prefer they do away with that, put a hydraulic cylinder in there instead of, and go all hydraulic instead of springs, but maybe that's something they can look at later at doing. But it does have a hydraulic cylinder for density. It's right here. And you adjust the density all from the cap. You don't have to, nothing back here. One of the major selling points for me on this baler, another one, was I can grease all the rollers on this baler. Every one of the rollers is greasable and accessible. There's a pull cable over here on this side that you pull right back here to this hook, and you loop it back there. It pulls a piece out. It catches the density bar that pulls down the belts at a certain point, and then when you let the hatch back down nearly closed, it will line the grease fittings up on the inside rollers perfectly, and you can grease them. Only baler I've seen on the market that has that, and that's a key thing to me because it never fails. Those that's on the inside are always the ones that goes out. The ones on the outside typically don't go out because you can grease those, versus the one on the inside that you cannot grease unless you have one of those needle things. Some of them have those needle kind of grease certs that you can stick in them. Those things are such a pain in the butt.